All right, how's it going, everyone? So I'm going to be building out this little color guessing game in React.js with TypeScript. This is something that I think is fair game that you could probably be asked on a practical interview. Like, I could potentially ask a junior developer like to build this out for me, and if they couldn't do this, that would probably be a red flag in my opinion. So what this game does is it shows a color, and then you have to pick from three hexadecimal like buttons, right? One of these buttons represents the actual color that's displayed here. And the idea is to get better at training your mind of like knowing really quick what hex belongs to what color. So hexadecimal is broken into three parts. You have the first two characters, which is the red, second two is the green, and the third two characters are the blue, right? So looking at this has a lot of green and it's more in the lighter range. So I'm guessing that the middle two numbers have to be a higher value. So I'm going to go with that one right here that has F. And I got it right. So if you get it right, it says correct. If you get it wrong, it says wrong. You have to kind of guess until you get the correct answer. So this one, again, this is a yellow, which is made up of red and blue, I believe. Or sorry, red and green. So I'm going to pick the color that has a lot of red and a lot of green, which is probably this one. So I'll click that. Got it correct. Now, if you were to click the wrong one, it's going to say wrong answer. And then it's kind of up to us to kind of go and keep on guessing the right answers. But that's what we're going to be building. And if you want to get some practice with React, I definitely recommend you try to build this yourself and then watch this video if you want to kind of watch me do it and see if we kind of get to a common solution. But again, I'm using Vite, React, and TypeScript. So if you're interested in learning that, be sure to stick around. Let's just go ahead and start coding this up. All right, so we have a Vite app set up with React and TypeScript. And if I show you the index.css, we basically just like deleted everything. Also with app.css, it's empty. And then app.tsx, we're going to start here and just try to create like a little box. That could be like this first step. So I'll just go ahead and say like div class name is guess me. And we can go and style this little box here by going into the app.css. And I could just go ahead and give this a width of 200, a height of 200. And then also like a background color of blue. So hopefully that'll show a blue box now. And then we could align these items, these things on the page if we wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and just also style the capital app and say display is flex, justify content center, align items center. And I think this will push it to the center. We also probably need to give it a height of 100% so that it expands to the full page. Maybe. I'm guessing body also has to be expanded all the way. So let's go to index.css. I'm going to say body height is 100%. And let's see if that helps expand anything. Also, I'll do the HTML. All right, almost there. We also need to do root. Did that help? There we go. So for some reason, there's like a bunch of divs that are wrapping all the way down to guess me. So I had to make sure I expand the height of all those so that this thing would actually properly center on the page. But the idea is we have this box, and what we want to do is we want to randomly generate a color. So we have to figure out how to do that. What we could do is when this React component first loads, we could do like a use effect maybe. So when it first mounts, we could just generate a random color. So to do generate a random color here. And then we probably want to store that color somewhere. So I'm going to say const color in set color. So whenever you use React, you have to have like state variables if you want to dynamically change stuff on the page. So in this case, if we wanted to dynamically change what the color is of this box, we would probably have to use some type of state and then interpolate that state based on, I don't know, we could do like an inline style for right now, might be the easiest. And I'll say background is equal to color. All right, so this is how you kind of dynamically change a styling on an element if you want to do inline styling with JSX in React. What we could go ahead and do is in the app.css, I'm going to delete that blue because now the color is going to be dynamically assigned when this component mounts. And if you're not familiar with use effect, basically it's going to run some code the first time the component mounts if you pass it this empty dependency array. If you were to pass or forget this dependency array, this function runs every single time this component re-renders. Okay, so make sure you pass the empty dependency array. And I'm gonna say set color, and this for right now I'm just gonna say like, we could do some hexadecimal. How about that? We got a cool little pink. So now if I go to my page, you'll see that we actually have a pink box show up. and this was dynamically set. And I'm using TypeScript, so make sure you type the things that you're storing in state. So I want to make sure I pass this a string, or I could potentially just pass this an empty array here, or I could default the color here as like orange if I wanted to. It doesn't really matter. The choice is yours. Empty string is probably fine enough. But what we want to do is once the color is set, we want to also probably list out some random colors. So how do we generate a random color in JavaScript? I'm not really sure. We could go to Stack Overflow and copy some code. We could try to figure it out ourselves. I'll try to do it myself real quick and see if we can make some progress. If not, there is a ton of people who have already probably figured this out. So to get a random color, you look at the string and it looks like it's just 6 digits that are like randomly between 0, 9, and A through F, I believe. And if you know anything about like hexadecimal to binary, like technically, I don't know, I think the easiest thing would be to do this. Let's just go ahead and say that const, let's just do a bunch of strings. This is not the most optimal way. I'm just doing the first thing that comes to mind. And I know someone in the comments is going to tell me I'm an idiot for doing it this way. But that's fine. You know, you don't always think about the best solutions on a live stream. Again, this is a live coding, so I'm just kind of doing the first thing that comes to my mind. But let's just go ahead and say like digits is equal to this. And this, I don't like how that put that all in one line, but it is what it is. And we want to return basically a random digit every single time. Okay, so I could just go ahead and say digits. Well, we want to do this 6 times, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just do like new array, and I'll say give me 6 elements, and then I want to do a map over them. You might have to fill them with the empty arrays or empty strings, and I'm going to map over these. And for every time I have a digit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say give me a random digit. So I'll say digits of digits.length mod 6. Oh, I'm sorry, math.random times digits.length, and then parse int that. So I think this is how you can potentially do it. So basically, pick a random index through here and do it 6 times. And I have something going wrong here. I don't know what I have going wrong. I'm parsing int math.random times the lengths of all the digits. Oh wait, hold on a second. I don't know why I'm modding. I think I just need to times it by the length. And then it's complaining, argument of type number is not assignable to type of string. I wonder why that is complaining here. Oh, I think, okay, so for some reason, like this thing would have to be a string for parse int to work. So instead I'll just do math.ceil or math.floor. How about that? Oh, there we go. So all that just to basically be able to get a random color. So what I'm gonna do is when this app first loads, I'm gonna get a random color here, which should call this function, and then it should return 6 random digits like this. And we probably also want to join those digits like so. Okay, so let me collapse this so we have some more real estate in. Let's make sure every time we refresh the page, does this work? No? Okay. So let's just go ahead and double check what's going on here, because this should have kind of set this random digits up. So I'm going to say const color is equal to this, and I'm going to console log the color here, and I'm going to return the color. And actually, now that I think about it, I think what I'm doing wrong is I need to return a hash symbol with the color, because with CSS, like you have to have a hash symbol. I think that might fix it. Cool. So every time this app loads, that effects fires off, it calls get random color. This is going to select 6 random digits from that range. And then we are appending a hash symbol, and then we return it here. All right. So now the question is, what do we do next? Is we want to basically force the user to guess what color this is. So guess the hexadecimal of the color, and we're going to create 3 buttons here. Actually, before I create the buttons, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the current color. So I think what we want to do is we want to create 3 buttons, and one of those buttons needs to have the correct answer, and the other 2 need to have the wrong random color in it. Okay, so let's just say const answers, set answers is equal to use state. And that could be an array of string like this. We could just default it to empty for right now. And when we get the random color, I'll just go ahead and put like actual color into a variable here, and we could just go ahead and store that. And once we have the actual color, I'm going to go ahead and say set answers is equal to, and then we say actual color and then get random color 2 more times. Okay, so does that make sense? So basically we have an array of three colors. One of them is the actual answer. And at some point we probably want to sort these in some like random order. So I could probably say sort, I'll sort here and pass it like a function that returns math.random greater than 0.5. This is like a little hack I think you can do to kind of sort things in a random order. But I think actually what you need to do here is just 1 minus math.random. Or 0.1 minus that. I think that's how you can do it. I don't know. We can also just try to grab a third-party library like Lodash, which has a shuffle method. But this should hopefully randomize the array. And down here, we could do a map. I'll say like answers.map. And then for every answer that was in that array, we are going to return some JSX. So in this case, I'm going to add a button. And I'm going to put the answer inside of the button. And then we need to make sure we put a key here, like so. And what else do we need to do? I think that might be good. So now we have 3 buttons, and one of these buttons actually represents the color that we need. And in fact, I should probably put these buttons underneath. It looks kind of weird here. So if I were to actually go back to the app CSS, this is going to go ahead and flexbox that into the center, but I believe we could probably flex column these things. So I'll just say like, I'll do a column class here. Like that, and then we would just go ahead and say call. Oh, I think it already put it in a column, so we're good. I guess we just needed a div. All right, so then we could just add some underneath guess me. Let's add some margin. So margin bottom, I don't know, 10 pixels. Push those buttons down, and then between every button, so I'll say button, and then any button that's right next to a button, I'll say margin left is 20 pixels. That should space them out a little bit, I believe. Just look at these real quick. Yeah, it looks fine. We're not going for styling here. Like, it's not worth it to waste so much time with styling. But we could potentially like add some padding to the buttons and just make them a little bit bigger. Although I'm not sure why that first button. Okay, I need to probably style the button here. I'll do that. All right, we got some buttons here. And the idea is, let me make these a little bit bigger. Font size of 18 pixels. And then we can make this other thing a little bit wider, like maybe 300 pixels, maybe 340 pixels, 320. I'm just gonna make this like look somewhat good, I guess. All right, so just line that up a little bit. Looks pretty good, I guess. Now the idea is the user needs to click on the correct one, and if they do, you need to show like correct. All right, so let's just go ahead and add a click listener to these buttons. So like, let's pretend we have a function here called function on our handle answer clicked. And that's going to be taking in a parameter called answer. And then we could simply just down here on the on click, I'll say on click, and then I will just go ahead and call a function that says handle answer like so. And this will be a string. So let's make sure we pass in string there. And we're going to say if, I think I have some, yeah, I'll do this. Say if the answer clicked is equal to the color, then we guessed the right answer, right? Otherwise we did not. So I'll say to do guessed correct answer, and then down here I'll say guessed wrong answer. All right, so if you guessed the correct answer, what we're going to do is we're going to go to, or just show something that says like correct. So we probably need to keep track of like some panels here. Like either you're playing or you finished and you selected the right answer. Actually, let me think about this. What do we want to do? We probably want to just like display a message that says wrong answer if you got the wrong answer. So I'm going to say const is correct Actually, I'll say is wrong selection. Set is wrong selection equals use state. We could make this one a Boolean. So I'll just go ahead and put false here right now. And basically I'm going to say like, if you selected the wrong answer, then I'm going to show wrong answer. All right, so let's go here and let's just say set this to true. Otherwise, we're going to set it to false. And then we're going to probably regenerate the entire. So I'll say to do reselect colors. Okay, does that make sense? So let's down here, let's just put like above these divs, I'll just put like a conditional that says is wrong selection. And if that is true, then I'll put wrong answer. Keep it super basic. Let's just make sure this works first of all. And if you click on it, notice that clicking on the wrong ones, these two are wrong. If you click on them, wrong answer pops up here. In fact, maybe we should put it at the very bottom. I'm going to move it to the bottom. And let's just style this real quick. I'll say like class name of wrong. And again, everything I'm doing in this, this isn't the proper like production ready CSS and code. I'm just trying to solve the problem and kind of walk you through my thought process. So we want to make this red, font size of 24 pixels. How about that? And then we could also just say like underneath the buttons, we could say margin bottom is 20 pixels. And then text align this to center. Okay, so you select the wrong ones, this thing pops up. If you select the correct one, we should basically give you a new selection. So all this stuff, we kind of want to rerun it over and over and over again. So let's just kind of abstract this away into a function called like, I will say that I am doing some stuff a little bit different here. I like to do constants for a lot of my functions just because that's what I'm used to. Some people like using the function keyword. Honestly, just do what works for you. But I'm going to go ahead and make a function up here called like pick color. And that is going to do a lot of this logic that we wrote here. One thing I'll point out is that this thing doesn't have to be inside of this component. It can actually be pulled out because it is just like a dumb function. It's a pure function that just keeps on returning new stuff. So I'll pull that one out. And we're going to call it, I guess, here. You know, we could do all this. We could do all this thing up here. And I'm going to go ahead and say call pick color when the effect fires off. All right, so now we kind of moved all this logic out to a helper function that we can keep calling over and over again. And I'm just going to say pick colors. Actually, I'm going to rename this to generate colors. Generate colors. All right, so now if you select the right answer, it should kind of redo everything. All right, so now when we actually select the right answer, it makes you a new color, and that's about it. Maybe we should also say good job. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make this a Boolean or null, or maybe I should just say undefined. And I'm going to start this off as undefined. And I'm going to say selection result. I'm going to rename this a little bit to selection result, and you can actually do fn of f2, and I'm going to call it like, I'll just say result, and also I will say set result. Because now this thing has 3 different states. It has true, false, or undefined. So I'm going to go down here and say if result is equal to true, display wrong answer. I'm sorry, if result is equal to false, display wrong answer. If result is equal to true, display correct answer. And I'll just do this. And we can also style correct. So instead of doing wrong here, I would just say correct. And I'll make this green like so. And now when you click on the right one, it says correct. Although I think I have this backwards, don't I? I have the logic set. So if you get it right, I'm going to say true. And if you get it wrong, I'll say false. And true, this, if you look at this code, it's a little bit confusing. Result equals true and false is kind of confusing. So instead, I'd probably say like an enum and say like result, and I will say when. I'll say correct, and then I'll say wrong. How about that? So now what we can actually store here is an enum or undefined. And what I'm going to do is if the enum, if you answer correctly, I'm going to say result.correct. And then I'm going to say result.wrong. Result.correct. Result.wrong. So luckily TypeScript allows you to do enums and it makes your code a little bit easier to kind of manage. So now it's a little bit cleaner. It's a lot better to understand like what's going on. That result is not a good name. I'd probably figure out a way to name that better. But now when you actually click on the right one, am I doing this wrong? I think I'm doing this wrong. If the answer you clicked is the color that we generated, we set your result to correct and we generate some colors. If the result you did was correct, print out wrong. Okay, so I have these things swapped out. So let me just go ahead and kind of refactor that real quick. And I'll just move that up. So now if I select on the right color, it switches and says correct or wrong answer. All right, so let's try to guess this one. So this is like a yellow. So it's like red and green, I believe, are the primary colors that make up yellow, if I remember that correctly. So hexadecimal is split up into 3 parts. It's red, green, blue. So red and green to make yellow. So we're looking for something that's higher in the red and the green and lower in the blue. So I'm going to say that it's this one. And I got it right. So this one's green or kind of teal. So we want to look at something that's higher in the green, which would be the middle 2 numbers, which I'm going to go with red, green, and blue. So the last 4 characters will probably represent a higher teal. I'll do this one. Nice, got that one right. This is blue. So I'm looking for something that's higher in the blue range, probably this one or this one. But you want it to be probably lower in the green and the red. So I'm going to go with, this one's hard. It's kind of a lighter blue too. So like the highest blue out of all these is F. So I'm going to go with this one. And I got that right. So let's just go ahead and do one more and we'll wrap it up. So this one's green. So obviously the middle 2 numbers or the middle 2 characters. This D is the highest value. So I'm just going to go ahead and say this is this one. And that's it. I mean, we could probably refactor this a little bit more, but I think it's good enough. Like we kind of covered a lot of cool stuff. Did some little bit of TypeScript, did a little bit of random generation of hexadecimals, did some random sorting of arrays, did some enums, did some conditional logics and a map in React. So doing stuff like this is really good practice just if you're a beginner because it kind of tests you on a bunch of different things. And something like this is definitely fair game in an interview. Like I would probably ask, you could probably be asked this on a junior level interview or like a beginner's level interview to see if you can actually implement like something like this. But yeah, if you enjoyed watching this, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, press the bell icon, whatever. Also, feel free to join my Discord if you want to ask me questions directly or just get help if you're stuck with React in general. Have a good day and happy coding.